So the key part of doing any kind of graphical model with an equation is going to be a table of values. So to graph a relationship between two variables, we can create a table of values and plot the points that are generated in the table as x and y points for on the Cartesian plane. So some rules, basically thumb for a table of values. So pick at least 5 values for your x or your horizontal variable. So whether that's 2 positive, 2 negative, and a 0, that's usually the suggestion. If you have sort of restrictions from an application point of view, then obviously choose values that are meaningful in the question. So if it's impossible to have a negative, don't choose negative values. Again, 0 is a good rule of thumb to have unless it's not part of what is allowed in your particular question. Substitute values into the equation and then evaluate for those particular values. This is going to create your x and y points, and then you can plot these on the Cartesian plane. So let's just start with an example of creating a table of values. So our example says create a table of values for the following equation. So this is our equation. So that's what we're going to use to generate our x and our y points. So step 1, pick at least 5 values for x. There's not really any restrictions on this one, so I'm going to choose 0, and I'm going to choose 2 positive numbers, 2 negative numbers. They can be anything you want to be. I'm just going to choose the next 2. So 1 and 2, and -1, -2. So again, you can order them in whatever way you want to choose or anything like that. It doesn't really make a difference. And then we have our actual value. So y is equal to 2x plus 1. And we're basically going to substitute each of these values in for x. So let's start with 2. So 2 times 2 plus 1. So we're substituting in for our x value. 2 times 2 gives me 4, plus 1 gives me 5. And then the next one, 2, we're substituting in 1. So 2 times 1 gives me 2, plus 1 gives me 3. 2 times 0 plus 1 gives me 1. 2 times -1 plus 1 gives me -2 plus 1 gives me -1. And 2 times -2 plus 1, so -4 plus 1 gives me -3. So substituting those values into my equation will actually give me ordered pairs. So if I group these together as an x, y point, that's all you really have to do. Put in your x, put in your y. So my Cartesian points or my ordered pairs will be an x of 2 and a y of 5. So 2 and 5. The next one will be 1 and 3. 0 and +1. -1 and -1. And finally, -2 as my x, and -3 will be my y. Then I can take these points just like we did in the previous example and plot them on my graph, and I can see what kind of model I'm actually producing.